Okay. So let's start. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're gonna break down the moon. All right, so the moon represents your emotions, your inner world, like your instincts, so intuitively, your needs for comfort, safety, and nurturing. And it's pretty much what makes you feel emotionally secure, safe. Think of like a motherly energy, I guess you would say. Like it's like how you care for yourself, how you mother yourself, that kind of energy. What do you need to feel fulfilled? And so yeah, so think your feelings, your mood, your emotional body. So this is usually like in your internal. So I kind of this may be a little bit advanced, but I kind of like to think like we remember you have your astrology charts and that was the whatever moon sign you have in was the moon sign you were born with. So that is like your internal energy, and people don't get to see that until they really know you. This is like who you spend home with when you can just kind of like be chill, be your most open self. But usually when people talk to you, they'll just see your sun sign, or most likely even your rising sign if you're really private, like if you're, so. But then the transiting moon, which is the moon where it changes every couple days, it's communicating with your internal moon. So in an advanced way, once you start to kind of learn to, well, if you want to keep track of what sign the moon is in each day or every couple of days, you can understand like if it's compatible with your moon sign, you usually feel really good and in sync and all of that. But if it's like incompatible, that's usually sometimes where we experience irritability. Why can't I say that word? Or like there's like some friction or just certain things that like come up. Okay, so it's really cool to at least kind of like have like a emotional cold weather, like how we used to get the weather channel and it tells us like today you're gonna have a cloudy with the chance of all that stuff. Right. So yeah, a lot of times when I'm like feeling like, oh, why am I feeling so like frustrated today? Or why am I da da da? I look at them like, oh, okay. And then it helps me because then it tells you you should do this and this will kind of help. And I'm like, okay, this can be my self-care. So, anyways, that. So then understanding the full moon. So the full moon is when it's at its highest. The moon is at its highest because when we think of like the phases of the moon, obviously there's different phases. So this can bring emotion to the surface. Now, when from my knowledge or just my experience of living astrology and tracking it for over a year, usually the full moon it will bring the emotions up to the surface. But if so, for example, if you're feeling good before the full moon, then you're just gonna feel even better. Like it's just gonna be like full. But if you're like, if there's some stuff that was like in a closet or like pushed down and you thought you were gonna be getting by from that, the full moon is here to like swell it up for you to notice it and it's feeling. So it's just gonna bring that up. So I always say if you feel full moons, if you're feeling more emotional or more irritated or just certain things like that, it's like wanting you to like release and kind of figure out like what is that. Also it illuminates what you've been avoiding or suppressing. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so that and then it helps you release or let go, because we think of it like a sponge, if a sponge is soaking up so much water at some point, you got to squeeze it out. So what are we releasing? And how? And how we release right now will be like colored by what sign it's in. Um, okay, so heightens your intuition and sensitivity. Yes, it creates a sense of culmination or clarity, because after you kind of like are bombarded with those emotions, then you kind of you release, you realize, okay, after you're reflecting. So yeah, big feelings, realizations is what it's the full moon. So this is the moon and the full moon. Do you have any questions? Are y'all good with that?
Yesterday was a full moon, right?
Today.
Today
Well,
or
sometimes
today's
with
full moon?
time zones it's a little different, but for our time it's today.
Today. Okay.
Mhm. Okay. All right, so now we understand. Now we're talking about what sign it's in, and that's going to help us. So, Gemini energy is usually curious, communicative, mentally active because Gemini is ruled by the sign of Mercury, and Mercury represents our thoughts and our communication. That's a little bit more advanced, so you don't really have to know what planet rules each sign, but just know if you want to make a note of that, every sign has a ruling planet. It also, Gemini loves conversation, learning, connecting. I literally I have a family member who is a Gemini and she's on the phone all the time, every day. Like that's her like therapy. They're usually also quick thinkers, playful, adaptable, really flexible. And they love to seek information and understanding, which is why Gemini energy likes to kind of talk because they're like when they're talking, they're also gaining information as well. So yeah, so think mind, communication, questions, ideas. So as we're reflecting on this, kind of think like how has that showed up? Maybe like yes, because usually in the full moon energy we can feel it a couple of days before and then the day of and then a couple of days after. So I always say, think back for the past couple of days, how any of this maybe came up for you. And I'll give you a little bit of an example of my own later, but just kind of think about like, does any of these themes stand out to you? And then we're bringing it all together. All right. So if we're understanding it all together, this is usually the emotionally intense, so yeah, it's pretty much bringing in emotionally intense feelings, right? But also the like mental, you know? So it's kind of like bringing the whatever what's been percolating up here, it is bringing it through emotion. So it's like we're wanting to talk. This is a really good time to talk out your feelings or talk about which, let me even give an example today. Like I had a conversation with like one of my family members about like their personal stuff and it we just came into the big conversation. And for example, Gemini rules my fourth house, which represents home and family. So it was like right on point that I was having a conversation with a family member that brought up a lot of things and kind of like talked about that. And she was also talking about how she was feeling anxious today. And so just certain things that came up and stuff like that, being in her mind, overthinking, da da da. So yeah, the mind usually feels busy during this time where you feel really overstimulated. And yeah, having conversations help to release that, and then that's where the clarity and stuff comes out. And also, yeah, it's just really good. You may feel the need to express what you feel at this time. So yes, speaking your truth, having emotional conversations, having mental clarity, releasing thoughts you've been holding in. So, any questions with that? Okay. Okay. Oh, you know what? They're trying to expose my information here. This, I don't know why it's so sensitive. This mouse is very sensitive. Chill out, mouse. Okay. All right. So now I want to bring a little example that I actually saw this article a couple days ago or earlier this week. And I was like, oh yeah, we gotta talk about it because this happened this week actually. And so Kendrick, who's a Gemini, actually, before I say this, I need you guys to let me know what team were you on? Remember when the Gemini and Drake beef was going on? I want to know. First off, yeah, I want to know whose side were you on with that one?
Definitely Kendrick.
Yeah.
So,
All
yeah.
right, cool, cool,
Yeah.
cool, cool.
How about you?
You both passed. So I was gonna kick you out. You said
We both passed.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. There's no kicking out here. This is my home, just like it's you guys' home. I'm kidding. But yeah, I always say like, yes, I am big Kendrick. So I really do feel like it's a tester for people. That's a real like make or break in my opinion. Anyways, so yeah, all right, good, good, good. So yeah, so I was reading this article, and I love Kendrick. I'm from Cali. Like he's like culturally like a thing in my family. And yeah, one of his biggest disappointments of his career. And then we read, you can kind of read this on your own. All right, it just exposed the question, but it's okay. So yeah, Kendrick, he admitted to being disappointed, like with not being with his family enough, right? And when we think of Gemini energy, Gemini is very, once again, like social, but very like mentally focused. So the things that they're really interested in, they can like be like focused on it, and usually it's scattered. But when we think of Kendrick and his music and how he's doing his lyrics and he's like in it, like I can just see his like an Einstein musician, Einstein, and he's always like focused and on to the next because he was in this article. It tells like he's always, when he finishes an album, it's like, yes, it's like the feeling of, oh, being finished, but it's also like the feeling of like now having space to create the next one. So it's like your mind is just mentally stimulated on the things you love. But then he was saying how he does also realize that he's disappointed that he didn't spend as much time with his family. And we think of that as the opposite energy of this Gemini full moon, because how do I like explain this in a way that is easy? Bear with me because I'm learning how to like, this is a newer experience for me too. But every month, okay, we have the full moon, but the full moon is always opposite from what the sun energy is in. So the sun right now is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about big picture thinking. All right. So opposite from Gemini, which is very focused on the details. So when we have, so every month we'll have the full moon, which is going to be opposite from the current sun energy, which we're, the sun is like coloring us for, like, it's telling us like, hey, this month focus on these themes. So we're needing to be big picture thinking right now, and kind of like being in our joy and being generous. That's the Sag energy and stuff like that. But we, before we can fully embody that, we're needing to release the opposite energy, which is like that full moon energy. Okay, we needing to release that. So then, and then every month there's a new moon, which is usually the same sign as the sun energy. So literally later on this month there will be a new moon in Sagittarius. So after whatever we needing to release here, that's gonna make space for us to really be in that Sag energy, you know, all that, and then that new moon. Okay, so you guys will understand it. I hope that made sense a little bit. And we'll understand it kind of full picture when we go to later this month when we talk about the new moon energy. But the point is, it just made me think of like sometimes if you like Sag likes to zoom out. Imagine you're like a hawk and you're looking over your life. Obviously, if you're looking at it from a big picture, you will see like the bigger meaning instead of being like so focused on like the details of stuff. You forget like, hey, you know, like how he did. It was like, yeah, it's so cool to be like immersed in his music and his career, but it's like, what are you doing it for? You know, if you can't even enjoy time with your family or anything like that, like, you know, like what is it all for? So it brings the question of, where does focusing too much on details in your personal life, perhaps, or people that you know or anything like that, make you miss out on like the big picture of something? So does that question bring up anything for you guys? And if not, I can give you an example personally. Okay.
I
Oh,
think, oh,
no, go ahead.
yeah, I think so. Like, I know for me, sometimes I can get like tunnel vision when I'm focused on a project. And like, that's where all my mental focus, energy, everything is that. And everything else around me is just like, it's, to be honest, it'll feel like a irritant of some sort trying to interfere with me completing whatever it is I want to get done. Because usually I'm at that state where I'm like, I got to get this done. I want to get this done, and that's it. And I could just be just that one thing focused, and anything else that kind of comes in the way just feels like not right now. I have to do this. So, um, I would say that for me.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, same.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Oh, what happened?
Is it an Aquarius thing?
I think it's a
Oh, okay.
human thing.
Human thing? Okay.
Human thing for sure, for sure. Okay, Faith.
Yeah, I would say, I agree. I think right now my mind is like, it feels like it's overactive. Like honestly, at this point, I really wish I could shut it off.
Mm,
Um, but because it's been like overactive for like the past, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks. Like it's just been a lot. But I think right now, like my mind is fighting between like looking at the big picture and focusing on the details. Like I'm trying not to focus on the details as much because I feel like it's kind of hindering me from looking at the big picture. So yeah.
mm.